All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so I think in this video I'm going to do, or attempt to do, the long-awaited RNG management video. So this topic is going to be probably a little difficult for me to talk about just because I've thought about this for a long time and I don't really know of a good way to really organize my thoughts on this matter. So I'm probably just going to be rambling a bit. But basically, in World of Warcraft Classic, since at any given point in time it only takes a very small number of actions or GCDs to actually end a fight, to actually kill your opponent. RNG, as you've all seen, is like it's just this huge factor in the game in general. And how to manage your RNG, as near as I can tell, comes down to actions that you can take to manage your RNG, both being mindful of it and actively trying to infuse your playstyle with RNG management, that is, with RNG management. And that's like level 1. Level 2 is you're not only managing and weaving in your RNG, but you're being mindful of your opponent's RNG. Go away. Thank you. You're being mindful of your opponent's RNG, and you are effectively, you're taking as many actions as you can to neutralize your opponent's RNG while maximizing your own RNG. And we'll talk about that in a second. I'm a little paranoid about recording this because I'm going to be rambling like crazy. This might be a long video. So, to begin with, I'll start with a very simplistic example of like a Drakova build versus a rogue. And the only real way in my mind to really talk about RNG management in duels is to talk about it purely from a win rate perspective. And what I'm talking about here is if your opponent is playing perfectly and you are playing perfectly and there are no real other factors involved with who's going to win that particular matchup, that's not true. Let's say you're playing perfectly, your opponent is playing perfectly, and you would have a 100% win rate if RNG was not a factor, right? Under those conditions, like as you can see here on Drakova's build, he's got almost 25% crit. He's got 24% crit in this build alone. And a Hand of Justice, God help us. This RNG alone will come along and take like 1 out of 10 duels. Is what I'm trying to say. So 1 out of 10 duels, your opponent will just crit more than usual, and you'll just lose, like straight up, because RNG came a knocking, basically. So you have to be kind of mindful of RNG management, and the best example I can give, again, God, rambling so bad. It's like I'm trying to pretend I know what I'm talking about because I do know what I'm talking about, but I don't know how to articulate it in format very well. So bad. Okay, so I'll start with the most simplest example of RNG management that I can think of, and that is Drakova in a pure DPS build with a Insignia of the Alliance. This is his verse Dis Priest build, but I can also see him just straight up using this against a rogue as well. Just Mithril Insignia, pure DPS, and the battle strategy he typically uses versus a rogue is he's gonna, as far as duels are concerned, or just getting beat up out in the middle of nowhere, is he's gonna suffer the rogue's attentions until he has a full wreck bomb. Then he's going to trinket off any stun that he is in. He's going to stun the rogue himself. He's going to break the 180-degree arc. Although that might not be a thing anymore. He keeps talking about how the act of stunning a target means that they can't dodge. I don't know if the act of stunning a target means they can't dodge and parry. So you might still want to break the 180 degree, but you might not even have to break the 180 degree anymore. But anyways, he's going to get into a position where the rogue cannot block or dodge, cannot parry or dodge his attacks, and he's going to swing his Wreck Bomb into them. And from this point in the matchup, it's the simplest RNG scenario I can possibly think of in the entire game, basically. Because it basically boils down to there are so few factors. The rogue literally can't do anything. Because you've trinketed out of their stun, you've instantly stunned the rogue, and now it's just a matter of raw math as to whether or not your melee swing kills the rogue, right? Which typically, if you're going that route, you want something like a 90% chance that when you swing into that rogue dies. Or maybe an 80% chance you swing into that rogue dies. But the way the RNG works is first he has to succeed in the stun. Like, that is the first RNG check. The second RNG check is, did he do enough damage to kill the rogue? And how do I put this? It's like, okay, so say you're dealing with an undead... Say you're dealing with an undead rogue, right? Every character in the game has an innate 5% chance to resist, like, just about anything, basically. So your stun off the bat has a 5% chance to fail to stun the rogue. Then, if that actually takes place, there's probably, I would estimate, about a 30% chance that Drakova just wins the duel anyways, because if the stun fails, he might still get to swing the Wreck Bomb right into the rogue's face. And sometimes RNG just doesn't care that you're swinging into a rogue who can parry and dodge your attacks, and you just end up doing enough damage with that bomb to just straight up kill the rogue. He might have one more opportunity with Bubble to try to do that exact same tactic where like if that Wreck Bomb fails and the entire thing gets reset, and then he heals to full. He might have to bubble again with like a half a Wreck Bomb or like a full Wreck Bomb and swing into the rogue and pray to the RNG gods. But the point I'm trying to make is that statistically, there is a 5% chance for him to fail the stun. And even if he fails the stun, there's something like a 30% chance that he wins that duel anyways. Okay, for a variety of RNG reasons. Now, if he gets a stun, you have to calculate what are the odds that he's actually going to succeed in killing the rogue. And from there, it's basically just a matter of math. If memory serves, Reckoning does about 500 damage per hit. It has like a 24% crit chance. It's more accurate to calculate scenarios that play out where the rogue survives in this case than when the rogue dies. So sometimes you swing into the rogue in this scenario and you don't get any crits. Like, Seal of Command goes off, but you get no crits, and then the rogue somehow survives by the hairs on his chinny chin chin. Other times, you swing into to the rogue, you get some crits, but Seal of Command decides to not be there, which is even less statistically likely because all 6 of your hits that you get to do, 5 from the Wreck Bomb and then 1 normal auto attack into the rogue, if not an additional normal auto attack on top of that from like a grenade stun or something. All of that it's like a 44% chance per swing, and you've taken like 6 to 7 swings. What are the odds that Seal of Command didn't proc? And then you got like a 25% crit chance. It's like, well, 7 swings later at 25% crit chance. Well, like, what are the odds I didn't get a crit? So you can do the math, but and you'll figure out that maybe like something like 80% of your Wreck Bombs that you put into that you put into a top tier rogue will just straight up kill the rogue. Against lesser rogues, it's like a 90% just death rate, because lesser rogues they don't really respect the reckoning too well, so they end up having like 300 to 500 less hit points, and so they just kind of pop. The RNG is better. But the whole point of this RNG management topic of conversation is to observe that we are looking at this purely from the perspective of a win rate percentage, right? So, say Drakova has There's a 5% chance his stun gets resisted. There's a 30% chance that he wins that duel anyways, even if his stun gets resisted. Then there's an 80% chance that he just straight up kills the rogue inside the wreck bomb. What is our theoretical win rate here at this point? And let's see, that'd be about 5%, 20%. The answer to that is probably somewhere in the vicinity of about a 78. Like, I suppose you could do the math. I just get in the ballpark. I like to be within 1 or 2 percentile points of accuracy, and I just don't bother with the math. But you're looking at maybe a 78% win rate versus rogues against the good rogues. And then even then, there's some things that Drakova can do for a little bit of helpful RNG management on the side. Another good example of RNG fail would be, yeah, you got the first stun, but your grenade stun got resisted, so you're out like 500 fire damage, and on top of that, you're out like an additional melee swing on top of that, which is even more damage, and now the rogue really didn't freaking die. Anyways, so you can see here in this scenario, there's really not much that Drakova can do for RNG management purposes in this particular scenario, other than purely to make sure that he has enough DPS to get the job done at an extremely high percentile rate. And ideally, he wants to get up to like a 90%. If he's putting a wreck bomb into the rogue, 90% of the time, the rogue is freaking dead, basically, right? Now, that is the barest, simplest example I can possibly give, I'm beating my mic here, of RNG management, simply because in this scenario, there's nothing the rogue can do. Because Trinket's done. The rogue can't do anything against that. On top of that, there's nothing that Drakova really needs to RNG manage on his end either. That there is no if A then B, if B then C type RNG management scenario. It's literally Trinket, stun. If the stun resists, oh shit. If the stun doesn't resist, let's fucking go. It's as clear cut and as dry and as simple as that. Now, against Orc Rogues, of course, you end up with slightly different math, which is like, now there's a 20% chance that they resist, 5% plus their 15%. 20% chance that they resist your stun, a 30% chance you win anyway, even if they do resist the stun. Yeah, so then I'll suddenly he's looking at maybe a 70% win rate as opposed to like a 78% win rate. And he doesn't like that. But to be perfectly honest, 70% win rate for your Paladin matchups is really good. Like even when I'm playing at my best against the best, I'm only able to maintain maybe like an 80% win rate ratio, just because pure RNG management. Our RNG comes for you. I'm just going to tell you that straight off the bat. So the second example that I can really give here for RNG management, I wanted to talk about two examples specifically are versus Elemental Shaman, RNG management becomes a serious issue. And against Hunters, RNG management becomes a serious issue. Now, what RNG management looks like from your perspective. Remember, I was talking about how there are two different elements to your RNG management. There's RNG management from your perspective and what you can do to make your opponent start rolling some dice. And then there's what your opponent's going to do to make you roll dice, right? So you want to... So a good example of this is verse like the Elemental Shaman. So, as you know, when I'm fighting Elemental Shaman, I prefer to have Improved Concentration Aura, and I will heal myself inside of Improved Concentration Aura with a little bit of Nature Resist and a little bit of Fire Resist. And the whole idea behind this is I want to make that shaman roll some serious dice. And how the dice rolls work is Every time he Earth Shocks me, there's a chance that it gets resisted by the nature damage. Then there's a chance that even if it didn't get resisted, the improved concentration aura at 15% chance just comes through and says, screw you, you're not interrupting this heal. Boom, this heal goes off, and the shaman's typically in some trouble. The fire resist there is to force the shaman to roll dice on his grenades and his goblin mortar. Because what the shaman will try to do is they'll try to Earth Shock interrupt you, and then Grenade interrupt you, and then Earth Shock interrupt you again, then Goblin Mortar interrupt you, and then Earth Shock interrupt you. And they won't let you cast a heal for upwards of like, it's like 15 seconds if all of that goes through. But if I'm forcing every Earth Shock to have to jump a hurdle of like, let me think, like 22% chance of failure, right? That's be a 7% chance it resisted, 15% chance it just fizzled for improving concentration aura. Then I'm making each grenade. You've seen how often in the dueling tournaments, how often grenades get freaking resisted all the time. Then the grenade comes through, and the grenades, they each got like a 20% chance to fail or some junk like that. So even though there's a chain of 5, he wants to chain together 5 abilities to make me not heal and force out bubble, but each one is going through a 20% or higher chance that did not work. And what's fascinating about this is, say it's like the third one that didn't work. So he Earth Shocked you, he grenaded you, and then his Earth Shock is coming down again, but it fizzles. Improved concentration aura comes through, and it fizzles. Boom! Your big heal comes through. You're back to full life. Now he's down a grenade, right? Like, you just got out a grenade from him. So all he's left to work with is another sequence of Earth Shock, Goblin Mortar into Earth Shock to try to force out a bubble from you and or to try to kill you, right? That is far less terrifying of a scenario than having to deal with the chain of 5, right? Now I'm only dealing with a chain of 3. So that's RNG management from the perspective of, I'm going to do things to force my opponent to roll some dice. Okay, so how the other side of that equation is... All right, I got to remember to talk about that. Should I talk about that now, or should I do the other side of the equation? Okay, so the other side of the equation I want to talk about is RNG management from your opponent's perspective. So I'll just talk about that really fast. I'll try to remember this other thing. RNG management from your opponent's side of the equation basically works like this. A lot of classes, such as Hunter comes to mind and Shaman come to mind, they're going to keep blasting you at range until they get until their damage basically temporarily spikes. Like, they're just going to keep blasting you with shots or blasting you with lightning bolts until they see like 2... For a hunter, I think it's like 3 crits in a row. If the hunter sees like 3 crits in a row, like 2 auto attacks and maybe like an arcane shot, just all crit you, he might go all in on trying to kill you from there with a scatter shot into a trap, into an aim shot, into a grenade to interrupt your heal, into like a mortar, goblin mortar to interrupt your heal. You get the point. So the whole point is that what is triggering your opponent to try to make that play, to try to use their stuns to deny you your heal, and to try to use their stuns to try to get the kill on you, is their damage from potentially critting you temporarily spikes. And you, as the player on the receiving end, can be very sensitive to this, right? And this is a big deal in the Shaman matchup in particular, which I haven't made a video on yet. But it's very important for you to be like almost psychotically conscious of what your opponent is trying to do and their window of trying to kill you. And what's fascinating is you both want to give them that window and you don't want to give them that window simultaneously. Because if you don't give them that window, then they're holding onto their grenades and their goblin mortar, and it might be difficult for you to end the situation. But if you do give them that scenario, they start rapidly using up their stuns, which triggers your time on target offense, basically, right? They're out of Goblin Mortar, they're out of Grenade, it's time to jump on them with a Mug of Hurt and just beat them to death, literally just fucking kill them. And so you kind of want to give them that opportunity, and you kind of don't want to give them that opportunity. I typically err on the side of just don't give them that opportunity, because eventually those crits will come, and the more like mana and resources and time they had to waste before that chance came, I figure the better. But it is important to recognize that you kind of want to give them that. But what I'm basically trying to say is, against the hunter, right? If you let your life drop below a certain point, they will try to kill you with this combo. Like, they will come for you and they will try to kill you with this combo. And it is just a really bad idea. And as an example here, I'll go over to a Peaceblade video. And what we're going to see in Peaceblade is him almost die horribly. And as you can see here, he's at 61% health. He's recently used his bubble to try to kill the hunter. The hunter is really low life right now. But what you're going to see is Peaceblade is going to let his life drop lower than I like personally, but he has Holy Shock to kind of back him up. So this play might be correct, but where he screws up here, and we'll see it in a second, is this grenade right here. This grenade, if it had landed, I totally like him jumping on this hunter. The moment this grenade failed to land, from an RNG management perspective, he needs to turn the fuck around, run the hell away, cleanse this shit off of him, and immediately go for a heal. And the reason for that is because he is too damn low life to be chasing after a hunter who still has the wombo combo of like, I don't think the hunter doesn't have the grenade. I think he's already used the grenade. But the hunter still has like scatter shot into trap into aim shot wombo combo. And God help you if he has a goblin mortar on the back of that, right? If he's got an additional stun. And you're going to see that this is exactly what kind of happens. So he does the cleanse. He should be running. He should be healing right now. And he does the worst thing ever. Boom, right here. He dark runed, right? Your one of your greatest resources for RNG management on a paladin is your healing potion and your Whipper-Root Tuber, especially your Whipper-Root Tuber. Your Whipper-Root Tuber is your RNG management boy. He's the first motherfucker you go to for RNG management purposes. And I'll give you basically an example. So say you're dueling an elemental shaman, right? And you're sitting at range, you're healing, you're dueling an elemental shaman. The shaman's putting lightning bolt after lightning bolt after lightning bolt into you. And at some point you decide, okay, it's go time. I'm going to jump all over this shaman. So you're going to heal the full, and then you're going to close in the distance on the shaman, which is very, very risky for the paladin, right? Extremely risky for the paladin to try to close the distance on top of a shaman, and because you're going to catch a lightning bolt on the way. God help you, you might catch 2 lightning bolts on the way. Then you're going to get like a grenade stun or some shit, and you're going to catch, no, what happens then? It's like, I think that the safest wombo combo from a shaman is they cast 1 lightning bolt, then they put down their Nova Totem, then they grenade your bitch ass, or war stomp you if you're close enough. Then they do their Elemental Overlord or whatever the hell it is, and they put a Chain Lightning Earth Shock into your face. And that combo right there will do upwards of like 5k damage if on average, if everything is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's something like, it's like 3k damage from the lightning bolt. It's like 1500. Yeah, it's ridiculous, especially since they get the free crit with the Earth Shock now. It's terrifying. But from an RNG management perspective, say you heal to full and you're closing in on that hunter, and the first fucking lightning bolt that comes down range crits you, right? You have 2 options at that point. You can see your win rate, your survivability rate your odds of surviving the wombo combo at that point, if the first lightning bolt downrange crit you, drops off of a cliff. Like, the odds of you surviving that go down drastically. If you're doing a perfect line of play and the first lightning bolt does not crit you, the odds of you being able to survive with enough life to make the hunter, the shaman's life miserable and get on top of them, beat the shit out of them, is actually quite high. It's like 70-80% from an RNG perspective. But if you see that first fucking lightning bolt crit, you've only got two options. Option number one, run the fuck away and heal. Run the fuck away, heal. Odds are you'll catch another lightning bolt for your troubles. Odds are that the shaman will Q on this and start denying you your heals, like grenading you and all that kind of stuff. Your other option is to completely nullify that RNG crit from the lightning bolt by popping your Whipper Root Tuber. You just go, bam, that crit me, oh shit, Whipper Root Tuber, and you continue charging in on the shaman. If you part with Whipper Root Tuber cooldown and you continue to press in on the shaman, you still have a really good RNG chance of coming out with that. You still have to survive all the bursts the shaman can put into you, and then to proceed to beat the shit out of the shaman and kill them. But you got to be cognitively aware that I'm using the Whipper Root Tuber for RNG purposes right now. Now, the other option is you run the fuck away, you start trying to heal, and you recognize mentally, it's like, okay, do I need to use the Whipper Root Tuber now or not statistically? If this next lightning bolt comes down range and it crits me, and then there's a grenade that comes and it stuns me, and then comes a chain lightning down range, am I dead? Right? Like, what are the odds that happens? Now, typically what I'll do is I'll run away from that lightning bolt, right? Like, I took a lightning bolt crit, I go, oh shit, I run away. Now I'm watching the RNGs just like a hawk. Because if that next lightning bolt comes down range and it crits me, I'm instantly Whipper Root Tubering. Like, I have my mouse, you know, I'm a clicker. I have my mouse hovering over the Whipper Root Tuber, watching the lightning bolt coming down my range. And I'm like, fuck, okay, good, it didn't crit me. That's literally my thought process, because that's an RNG management thing. Because if it does crit me, then down comes the nade, down, or not even a nade, because you have some time to react with a grenade. It's just boom, Goblin Mortar, 3-second stun, or Tidal Charm, 3-second stun. You're sitting there like, fuck, because you're already down 3,000 hit points from 2 lightning bolt crits. Maybe some nature resistance came out, and maybe you're only down 2,800. But that 3k damage chain lightning is coming down range after you, and you're fucking dead. Right? Like, mathematically, you're dead. There's a 3k chain lightning coming down. You've taken like 500 damage from a grenade. And you've taken like 2,800 damage from a freaking, from 2 lightning bolts. Odds are, even with that Whipper Root Tuber, you might be dead. But in my experience, I usually survive with like 50 hit points, and I get like a heal off, and it's kind of hilarious. Other options available, maybe you had, brain died. The thing from the Furbolgs that's offhand and it heals you. Furbog medicine pouch. Yeah, maybe got a few ticks of Furbog medicine pouch in there. In my experience, under that scenario, it's like, okay, I've taken 2,800 damage from 2 lightning bolts. 3k damage is about to come in on me. That's like 5,800 damage. This stupid Goblin Mortar hit me for like, maybe I got some resists on that, like 300. So I'm about to take like 6,100 points of damage. Whipper Root Tuber heals me for like, 900 or something. That means I need over 5,200 hit points to not be fucking dead. Which at that point might mean that I'm reaching for something else. I might just be straight up bubbling. I might be reaching for... No, I take it back. I probably wouldn't be reaching for anything under those circumstances, and here's why. Again, we're talking pure RNG management. Pardon the rambling. This is the RNG management video. I'll sum it all up at the end. Meh. When Chain Lightning hits you, it's actually rolling the dice 3 times on your resists. So, unlike Lightning Bolt hits where it might be resisted, it might not be resisted, some of the damage might be shaved off, some of the damage might not be shaved off, the Chain Lightning damage is almost always shaved by a little bit of nature resist, because it's hitting on you 3 times. So, if I recall correctly, rather than taking 3,000 nature damage, I usually take like 2,000, let's be generous to the shaman, like 2,800 damage. Like maybe I shaved off 200 hit points there. And you can see that if I was sitting at like 5,100 hit points before I went in on that shaman, I actually kind of survived that burst with like 50 hit points. I'm still trying to heal myself during this. The shaman cannot close within Earthshock range because he was stuck there at max range, charging a chain lightning into my ass. Let me think about this. Yeah, so literally what happened was I was running away. The lightning bolt hit me. I ran in. I got hit with a lightning bolt. I got crit. Now I'm running away. He's charging into the lightning bolt. Another lightning bolt goes off. I'm at about 35 yards and trying to heal as this lightning bolt is closing in on me. The shaman then comes within range of Goblin Mortar. He Goblin Mortar stun interrupts my heal. Along comes this lightning bolt and crits me. I Whipper-Root Tuber instantly because I recognize that RNG says, holy fuck! And I've just taken 2 lightning bolt crits, and down comes the mortar. I need to bubble, or I need to do some RNG management here. Shaman, let me think. Shaman might stop and do a chain lightning, or he might try to close in range of Earthshock chain lightning. If he tries to close within range of Earthshock chain lightning, I don't think that'll work though. But yeah, no, I'm used to surviving it, but I can't remember why. Like, I usually have enough resists that I'm rolling enough RNG management that I can actually survive that off of a Whipper-Root Tuber. Worst case scenario, I usually have to pop something else, like a Furbog Medicine Pouch or like a healing potion on top of that. If the RNGs, again, it's like 2 lightning bolts came down range, they both crit me. Like, it's going to force out things from an RNG perspective. It's going to force out stuff. So it is in my best RNG interest, however, to have enough resists that it looks like from the shaman's perspective that he is making the correct play. I keep waving my hand around and like sometimes I hit the mic. It looks to the shaman like he's making the right play. Like, oh, I can kill this fucking paladin. Like, I can do this. Let me use my goblin mortar. Let me try to use a grenade. Let me try to kill this paladin right here, right now. I survive with 50 hit points. And they think I'm lucky. And the truth is, it's called math. It's called math because I have more nature resistance than normal. And you've hit me with, like, you've done 5 resist checks already. That's 6 resist checks. That's 2 lightning bolts, 3 chain lightning hits, and a fire resist check. So that's 5 nature resist dice rolls and 1 freaking fire resist dice roll, right? Something's going to get fucking resisted in there somewhere. Something's not going to do its full damage. On top of that, you needed this scenario where you had to get the 2 lightning bolt crits, right? So, in a way, I'm happy for the scenario taking place if I can survive it on a Whipper-Root Tuber. Just based off of gearing and dice roll and RNG. Because when I survive that and I finally get around to actually healing myself, the situation is basically going to be that they're out of a stun and I'm back to full life and they're probably low mana and I'm jumping on them, so let's fucking go. I survived the burst at long range as opposed to surviving the burst close range. Other things you can do is you see the chain lightning coming, you pop like a Burlov's trinket, and it just really helps. Like right before it goes off, you Burlov's and weird things like that. Okay, so RNG management. Right, so things you can do to make your opponent roll dice, and then being consciously aware of things your opponent can do from their dice roll and killing you perspective. Now, the thing I wanted to remember before I get back to Peaceblade here is you need to try to remember the totality. How do I put this? All of this RNG management and thinking in depth about dice rolls, both on your opponent's perspective and on your perspective, is all in service of increasing your overall win rate percentage. Now, just because I haven't played this video in a while, we're going to play it, then I'll finish on that topic of conversation. So, after spouting off blah, 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 how I think Whipper-Root Tuber is so important for RNG management, Let us note that our boy Peaceblade here has Dark Runed at low life with a hunter who has Scatter Shot, Ice Trap, Aim Shot. The only fucking thing that's going to save him here is that he has Holy Light. I mean, Holy Shock. But you can see just how dead he is here for his troubles. So, Scatter Shot, Ice Trap, and then you just have to ask yourself RNG management. So, Free Wind actually screws up here. Peaceblade should be dead. He's on Forbearance, 26 seconds. He's at 20% life. That's like an aim shot and an arcane shot, and he's done. Right? Just ba-boom, and he's out. Hell, that might even... an aim shot from this perspective, if it was my gear and my hit points, would probably put me at like 50% life. I mean, my bad, 50%, 50 hit points. Like, I'd barely survive the auto attack aim shot, and then if a arcane shot came down also, I would probably just explode from here. As a Reckoning Paladin in this position, I'm fucking dead. However, I would typically not use Whipperroot Tuber, or Dark Rune. So I would actually have Whipperroot Tuber available. So he has Earth Shock, Holy Shock. I have Whipperroot Tuber. And you're going to see Free Wind fuck up here. So Free Wind goes for the bandage. He screws up just ever so slightly, and he's not going to get the aim shot off before the Holy Shock comes off. Watch this. Boom. It's cut up. See? And then I'm pretty sure what Peaceblade is doing here is he's casting the free crit heal, and he instantly goes for the Holy Shock heal. Look how close this RNG shit is. Blam. Yeah. So he should have died here. Free Wind screwed up. But you can see clearly... I'll just continue playing it. Yeah, you see the arcane shot or the auto attack shot coming down directly after, and he... Yeah, that was scary. Scary RNG management. So, me personally, I would have been dead. Well, let me think about this. Okay, so his bubble's off, his grenade whips. As you recall, I'm like, okay, RNG says I go for this nade. That was a amazing nade. I like the nade. Please try to go for this nade. But RNG says I cleanse, I run away, I heal. Instead, what happens is close, Dark Rune. The Dark Rune looks like it took him down, goddamn. Dark Rune looks like it took him down like 800 hit points or so. The Dark Rune took him down a Whipperroot's Tuber worth of health, as opposed to putting him up a Whipperroot's Tuber worth of health. So you could see that if I found myself in this situation, I hadn't Dark Rune, but I had Whipperroot Tuber, but I did not have a Holy Shock heal, I would have been perfectly just fine, because I would have had, at any given point in time, let's see, what was it? It was 61%. Do cleanse, okay. To 39, okay. So that's 12%. Okay, so it took out 12% of his life. I'm assuming a Whipperroot Tuber would increase my life by... Whipperroot Tubers increase your life by almost like 20%. Yeah, okay, whatever. 20%, 5,000... About 18%. So it went down 12%. I'm just going to add that really fast. 30... Is that 30%? Is that 40? Yeah, 30%. Okay, so I would have 30% more life total here from Whipperroot. So I'd be at 69, but I just won't bore you. Okay, so you can clearly see the bad RNG management. He uses up one of his main tools to mitigate RNG, and the only reason why he does not die here is because Free Wind fucks up. Free Wind shouldn't even be bandaging here. He should just run away, do his aim shot. He shouldn't even get... Boom, do your aim shot right now. Stop running. I don't know why you're running. What are you doing? And Peaceblade would have just exploded. Even as a Holy Reckoning Paladin, if I hadn't a Whipperroot Tuber, you get the point. It's just think about your RNG management. Think about what if that aim shot crit? What if that aim shot crit? What if that auto attack and arcane shot crit? Like, what if... Because hunters can do this. Sometimes hunters will just get lucky on the aim shot and half your life just goes away. So, which is why I'm always an advocate of not letting my life versus a hunter drop anywhere below like 70%. But the overall thing I wanted to talk about was for RNG management is, bear with me, guys. I'm nearing the end of this video. In fact, I'm going to check to make absolutely sure that we're still recording and pray to God. Okay, thank God. 40 minutes of talking, praying. Okay. All right, so there are things that you can do to force your opponent to roll dice for RNG purposes. I think I covered that extraordinarily explicitly with my shaman matchup observation, basically. Then there's understanding the nature of your opponent's RNG and what they're looking for. So Free Wind here got what he was looking for, right? The Paladin got low enough life that he could scattershot him and then go for the kablamo, you're fucking dead. He just screwed it up. Peaceblade should have won that. Just straight up. He should have won that. He's probably kicking himself because he's fucking around too much. But then again, Peaceblade also screwed up by not respecting the nature of the RNG that can come out of the opponent or what options are available from an RNG perspective for his opponent. Super fucking risky. Very good example of bad RNG management and what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. The grenade was very good. Love that play for an RNG management perspective. There was a duel that S-Fan did, like one of his first duels with rogues, where he's trading like stun, bubble, nade for like... at some point, your RNG management isn't RNG management anymore. It's literally just bad plays. But one of the things he did in that duel was the enemy hunter that he was dueling, not the rogue, my bad, hunter, he uses Noma's cloaking device, and S-Fan throws a grenade at a fast-moving invisible target. And my brain is like, okay, let's say there's a 10% chance that worked, and there's a 90% chance that failed. That's a 90% chance that you're probably fucking dead because you don't have a nade, and a 10% chance that you had a 50% chance to win that duel. Huh. It's just really bad RNG management. Right, so bringing it home, all these concepts. RNG management during the course of a duel is entirely dedicated to the purpose of managing your RNG over the course of a duel and doing constant reassessments of your RNG and having concepts of RNG management in your mind is to increase your overall win rate, because you can never have a 100% win rate in Classic World of Warcraft. Now, this is probably the bigger point, because I see people making this mistake all the fucking time in duels. Do not do this, what I'm about to describe, okay? They will take risk after risk after risk that does not have the potential of just ending the fight immediately. So I'll give you an example. So in our previous Drakova example with the Drakova gear versus the Rogue, if Drakova was against an Orc Warrior, and he decides he's going to bet everything on that stun. Not an Orc Warrior, like an Orc Rogue. Okay, he's going to bet everything on the stun. He's like, okay, if I get the stun, I win. If I don't get the stun, I die. So be it, right? He's got a 20% chance of getting that stun. And then let's say he modified his gear slightly so that he can guarantee that if he gets the stun, the Rogue is fucking dead. Which is actually quite doable, believe it or not. Then he will have an 80% win rate versus the Rogues, right? Like because there's a 20% chance the stun fails. If the stun fails, he's screwed. Statistically, he can just swing into them and there's still a win chance. But if the stun succeeds, he wins, right? Simple. That's an example of extremely good RNG management, because the risk that you're taking of losing the duel is offset by the chance of winning the duel. Bad RNG management would be, I'm taking a 20% chance here on this stun to be able to heal the full or lose the duel, right? But not necessarily win the duel. You can kind of see this with there was an S-Fan, the second S-Fan versus Rogue video I did where he's Reckoning and he's much better, and he's looking for the block on the gouge during the reset to try to kill the Rogue, basically. And that is both good RNG management and bad RNG management. It's good RNG management in that it is a win condition. Please understand your win conditions, right? Or you'll just get reset after reset after reset after reset until you fucking die. Until the RNG comes up in favor of your opponent and you just die. Please try to understand your win conditions. So it's good in the sense that he set up a win condition versus the rogue. It's bad in the sense that every time he fails to get the gouge block, it's another reset and subsequently another chance that RNG comes in favor of the rogue, like that 1 in 10 duels. Remember, RNG, it's just everything crits out of the rogue and you just fucking explode, basically. So every chance he fails the gouge gives the rogue another chance for RNG to come in and just annihilate him, basically, or to cause him to lose so much mana keeping himself alive that the next reset kills him, basically. So you're rolling the dice, but you're not ending the duel quickly enough to warrant the risk. So your overall win rate drops drastically under those conditions. So I would estimate it would be about a 50-50 chance whether he wins or loses versus the rogue, because there's like a 20% chance he blocks the gouge, but then there's like a 10% chance that every reset that everything just goes terribly wrong and he just kind of dies. And even if he gets the gouge, even if he blocks the gouge, it's not a 100% guarantee that he kills the rogue. You can see how the RNG plays out. So the number one thing I'm trying to express and I'm trying to avoid is do not take too many chances with your win rates, right? You'll see lesser duelers do this, where they're like, I'm gonna stun here and I'm gonna go for the kill, and I look at it and I'm like, you have a 30% chance to kill that warrior right now, to kill that hunter right now, to kill that rogue right now. There's a 30% chance from a DPS RNG perspective that you make this work. And if you fail to make that work, what are the odds that it kills you later down the line? And if the odds are like, hey, if I'm taking a 30% chance to win the fight for a 50% chance to lose the fight, that's bad RNG management, right? An example of good RNG management that I'm okay with is when I duel rogues, my duel style is very heavy on the stun. So I'll give you an example. So, okay, of good RNG management versus bad RNG management. If you're fighting an orc rogue, okay, and it is integral to your win condition that you get multiple stuns on this fucking orc rogue, right? Like you need 2 6-second stuns, and then you can wear down and kill the rogue. He has a 20% chance of resisting either of those stuns. So even if there was a 100% chance that if you get off both the stuns, the orc warrior, the orc rogue is just 100% dead, right? Like even if that is if that is the scenario, you're still only looking at like a 60% win rate, because you're banking everything on him not resisting 20% chance to stun, right? Like you haven't even given yourself a chance to win past the 60 percentile, basically is what I'm saying. However, this is a perfectly fine line of play if you're dueling like an undead rogue, right? That only has a 5% chance to resist. That's a perfectly valid line of play all of a sudden, because now there's like a 10% chance that it fails, and if it doesn't fail, then he's fucking dead and you win. That's a 90% win rate. That's an amazing win rate. Go take that win rate. Go do that line of play. I love it. Awesome. But if it gets against an orc, suddenly you're looking at a 60% win rate. So what was the point? And a lot of times I'll hear people say like, oh, he resisted that stun. It was a 20% chance for him to resist that stun. He got really lucky. Or another one will be, yeah, that third stun of mine he resisted. He got lucky. Bitch, that was the third stun, right? If that was an orc, that's a 60% chance that should have happened somewhere in between there and you died. If he was not an orc, there was like a 15% chance, right? So at that point, you've rolled. you've rolled the dice in you've rolled the dice with a chance to lose the duel so much that when it finally comes up in your opponent's favor and you lose, saying they got lucky is absolutely fucking retarded. So when I duel rogues, like, I duel them with the idea in mind that, especially if I'm going up against an orc, I have to assume that one of my first 2 stuns is going to get resisted, and then I have to have backups accordingly. If I'm going against an undead, I'll just straight up ignore the possibility of it getting resisted, and I'll pick a line of play where it's like, okay, if I get 2 stuns, I kill this rogue. If things go weird with the RNG from a DPS perspective, like I just can't hit this guy for some reason, I need 3 stuns and I'm good. I will roll the dice on that because statistically, I'm only accepting a guaranteed 15% loss rate at that point, right? Like from a sheer stun resist perspective, if I'm relying on every stun that I throw to resist, I'm accepting a 15% loss rate, which means at best I'll have an 80% win rate in that matchup if I play absolutely perfectly and I can get the job done. Throw in a little bit of RNG this way and that, and suddenly I'm looking at like an 80% win rate, or I'm looking at like a 77% win rate, all factors basically considered. And again, you can see the nature of the RNG management. It all needs to be, what I'm trying to say is it all needs to be in service of your overall win rate. And good players on the opposite end of the spectrum are doing the exact same fucking thing. They are throwing their both in the positive and the negative, right? So for example, bad players like a shaman or a mage or something, they'll do things like throw a grenade and stun you to stop you from healing, cast a frostbolt on you, then blink on you to like cone of cold you, right? And if you have enough hit points and enough resists, that might work like 30% of the time. Like 30% of the time when they do this, you just explode and you're dead. But then like 50% of the time when that happens, the paladin turns around and he wreck bombs you, and then you explode. And then the other like 20% of the time, something neutral happens where it's like, yeah, you didn't kill the paladin, but the paladin didn't kill you, and you still got to get away, and blah blah blah. The duel goes on from there. But in that short space and window, you can analyze the likelihood of that line of play succeeding or failing, and then you can decide whether or not that was good RNG management or bad RNG management. And you never want to take multiple risks back to back, if at all avoidable. So, for example, how do I put this? Taking a 50-50 chance to win the duel right now is not the worst thing in the world. I can't say that. Like, how the hell am I supposed to say this? What I'm basically trying to say is, if you're rolling multiple dice and you're stacking up the percent chance of failure, don't be surprised when the dice come up, when you fail like a 5% chance that something happened, when it's like the fourth 5% chance dice that you've rolled, and you're like, oh, he got really lucky, I can't believe he survived that, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, so I was giving an example. So another good example is like with the shamans. The shamans love taking these risks. So they're like so crack addicted to like their critical strike chance, and you have to be kind of mindful of this, that they'll do crazy shit. Like they'll grenade you when you're like 70% life, and then they'll go like lightning bolt, chain lightning into your ass. And from their perspective, they're like, hey, yo, if this lightning bolt crits, which has like a 30% chance or some crap like that with a fully geared elemental shaman, if this lightning bolt crits, I goddamn well know the chain lightning everything on that is going to crit, and this paladin should explode, right? Like, that is their thought process. I'm going to use the grenade. I'm going to use my burst, and I'm going to throw a lightning bolt, and everything basically depends on, because they get to see that if the nade got resisted or not. They get to see if the nade even crit or not. Still recording? Yeah. Everything is dependent. They're taking a win chance based upon that lightning bolt crit, because everything else there is not RNG, basically. Or they throw the grenade like they're going to go for this RNG thing, and the grenade just gets resisted, and then they're out of grenade. And they're like, oh shit. I just rolled the dice on a 20% chance this Paladin resists this grenade to take a 30% chance that this lightning bolt will crit, so that my chain lightning can come through and then just kill the Paladin. However, on my end, I've got a little bit of nature resist, like not a lot, but a little bit of nature resist. And I have enough nature resist that the odds are that something somewhere in there between those 5 dice rolls, like the 3 from chain lightning, the 1 from the grenade, and then the 1 from the lightning bolt, like I resisted a chunk of damage, and his math is off, right? Like, not only did the lightning bolt crit, so he goes for the chain lightning crit, and he gets everything his way, except I just end up resisting like 300 more hit points than normal, and I've got more hit points than normal, because that's how I build my paladins. I survive with like 50 hit points, I whip a root tuber, I start healing myself, and the shaman's over there like, fuck. And you can see the RNG management on both sides, and you can see the thought process on both sides, right? Like, this shaman is technically taking a bad line of play, even if I didn't have any nature resist, because he's using his grenade and rolling the dice on a 20% chance that the grenade gets resisted, because T2 just has everything just has fire resist, basically, and then he's banking on a 20% chance that the lightning bolt crits. My bad, like a 30% chance that the lightning bolt crits. And if all that fails, he's out a grenade, and the next thing you know, this paladin has a window of opportunity to jump all over him. And what's even worse than that is when they don't wait to really see if the lightning bolt crit or not, and then they put their burst into you at range, and so now they're out their grenade and they're out their burst, and you get the idea. You're just looking at them like, well, I'm looking at them knowing exactly what they're doing, and I'm like, what the fuck did you just do? Did you just take a 30% chance to kill me through 5 of my dice rolls to resist that shit? Are you fucking fuck you, Whipperroot, and I'm gonna jump all over, I'm gonna fucking kill your ass. Like, that's my thought process. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Your RNG management is atrocious. Suck my dick. So yeah, that is actually my thought process. I literally am dumbfounded when I see shit like that. I'm like, really? A grenade at 70% life? Okay, this lightning bolt better crit. Like, literally, I'm sitting there like, I'm stunned. I'm not doing anything. I'm like, all right, buddy, this lightning bolt better crit. And I was like, boom, lightning bolt crits. I'm like, oh shit. Actually, I think, oh shit, when that happens. And then the earth shock comes down, and then, well, actually, technically what happens is the lightning bolt hits, it crits, I register how much damage it did. So I'm like, how much damage did it crit for? If it crit for 1,600, that's a non-resisted critical. If it crits me for 1,200, that's a resisted critical. I'm sitting chill. Like, I know I'm going to live that at that point. I'm just giggling to myself. I'm like, I'm hovering over the Whipperroot tuber going, fuck you. And, yeah, so you can see the element of RNG management there. Yeah, so the good shamans and the good other RNG players, they... How do I put this? They will not take a risk like that unless they feel they have no other way of taking a win off of you, right? Which can be the scenario sometimes. The harder you are to kill, which means the lower win rate they can have unless they take risks, the more likely they are to take risks, unless you are dealing with bad players who just like to take risks for some reason, like the one I just described. But RNG management. Yeah, that's just a bad line of play. So good are... They bounce off each other. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, the elemental shaman matchup is the perfect example where I'm forcing the elemental shaman to roll more dice than he would like on everything. And at the same time, I'm gearing in such a way that I'm almost wanting him to come out with that shit. Like I'm baiting him to come out with that, right? Like you might have like a Burlov's trinket, you charge in on the shaman goes, oh, there's a paladin charging at me with 80% life, I've blown up every paladin I've ever encountered when they do this, let's fucking go. And then they decide that that's what they're going to do. They finish their lightning bolt cast into you, they then put down their Nova totem, then they goblin mortar you, so they stun you in place, and they just pump their burst into your ass. Pretty much in that order. And what's fascinating is, as you're closing the distance and you see the whipper root get hit, you get to do things like, the lightning bolt hit. Did it crit or not? Okay, well, let's say it didn't crit. Sweet. I'm just going to whipper root tuber that lightning bolt away. Like, I just canceled that lightning bolt out of the equation. Now suddenly it's, hell, it might have been resisted. It might have done less damage. I might have gained hit points. The moral of the story is, there are so many little dice rolls going on that you are aware of because you know the RNG, because you know the math, that the shaman over there is not aware of because he doesn't know the RNG, he doesn't know the math. Like it takes them a while to catch on, trust me. That what literally happens is they think they can kill you, but you're technically unkillable. There's like an 80%, there's like a 20% chance they succeed to kill you, because you're forcing them to roll too many dice. But in their mind, they've never failed to kill a paladin under these circumstances unless they've gotten really unlucky. So they're thinking to themselves, I have a 70% chance to win if I just burst on this paladin right now. This paladin is being retarded. But from your perspective, from an RNG management perspective, because you took that lightning bolt to the face, you kept closing, you just whipper rooted it away, right? You already see them coming down with their burst. They've already, dropped everything. Because you can see it. You can take the whipper root hit, and yeah, with the whipper root hit. You take the lightning bolt hit, you whipper root it, you continue closing, they're like, whatever. Now they're thinking to themselves, oh, he whipper rooted that? Okay, now I have a 50% chance to blow him up under these circumstances. Except statistically, they've actually got like if that lightning bolt did not crit and you whipper rooted at 80% life, you've got there's like a 10% chance that the shaman kills you. But he's under the perception that there's a 50% chance to kill you here. And he got your whipper tuber. So he's going to go for it. It's not going to work. You're going to be sitting there at like 30% life, and he's going to be like, oh, fuck. And then you do all kinds of nasty, terrible, terrible things to him from there. Which the shaman matchup is RNG management the matchup, which is why I haven't made the video on it, and I really wanted to do an RNG management video first. The other example of RNG management I had was with the hunters. There is some RNG management versus rogues, but that is really difficult and complicated to get into. Like, I actually did the math on it, so if you recall my my versus, this is getting to be a really long video, so I guess I'll wrap it up here. If you recall my suggested gear versus the rogues, if you actually whip out a calculator and you crunch the numbers on things like Uther's Strength Trinket, absorbing like 260 damage per proc, and then you calculate your spell power with all the life stealing from Skull Flame Shield and from Demon Forge Breastplate, and then you factor in like Edward the Odd and all that stuff. Like, what are the odds during this fight that I got an Edward the Odd to proc? Like, what are the odds that like you start factoring in like, what is Blessing of Sanctuary doing for me over the course of this fight? What is Demon Forge Breastplate doing for me for the course of this fight? Like, what are all these things that are little dice rolls that are going on statistically doing for me over the course of this fight? And you can see this in my Verse Rogue video. The answer is 7,000 more fucking hit points than you otherwise would have. That's a lay on hands and a half that you were getting for damage reduction from those pieces of gear, from Edward the Odd, from Blessing of Sanctuary, from Uther's Strength Trinket, from Skull Flame Shield, and from Demon Forge Breastplate. It's like 7,000 hit points or more of just hit points that you have that you would not otherwise have if you were wearing different freaking gear. And you can just you can feel the power of that over the course of the duel, and you can leverage that into basically a win condition. And what's fascinating about it too is you find yourself in these weird positions where, again, the rogue thinks he's got you. He thinks he's going to kill you. He's going in to try to kill you, and statistically, he might have like a 20% chance to kill you. But then what ends up happening is certain things start to proc, and rather than it being you that died, it's the rogue that died. RNG management. Yeah, so I guess it goes back to it's those three main concepts. If I had to summarize, it's what are all the little dice rolls you can force your opponent to do. All right, I forgot to add in one factor with that 7,000 hit points. That would be Judgment of Light. So you Judgment of Light on the rogue, you have Lasting Judgment, and you use rank 3 SOR, and you beat on them, and it gives you back like 700 hit points over the course of the match, if not more, which is part of the 7,000 as well. Again, you have hit points when you shouldn't have. You have more hit points when you shouldn't have, and you're alive when you should be dead, and people just are very much confused. But there's all these little dice rolls that you can do. Then there's active management in your decision making, which is a big deal of RNG management, which is when do I use my Whipperroot Tuber and why? When do I use my Healing Potion and why? When do I use my Medicine Pouch and why? Why am I doing this here and not this? Does it increase my win rate? Does it decrease my overall win rate? Is this action viable to increase my win rate, or is this action here not viable to increase my win rate? And then there's the opposite end of the spectrum. There's all the shit that your opponent is doing to try to manage their RNG. And you can see your opponent doing good RNG, or you can see your opponent doing bad RNG. And it almost always comes down to a mathematical relationship between how durable you are and how much damage they can statistically do. So, for example, let's say you're fighting a Warlock, and the Warlock is like, you dropped to 30% life, and the Warlock throws a grenade at you. I take it back. You dropped to like 35% life, the Warlock throws a grenade at you. You drop to 30% life because the grenade lands, and now he's going for a Shadow Bolt, right? In his mind, what happened there was he saw you at 30% life, and he thought to himself, okay, yeah, I'm gonna take the chance to win this duel on a Shadow Bolt crit. Let's say he's got like a 30% chance for that Shadow Bolt to crit, right? He's still rolling the dice on that nade stun. So there's 20% chance the nade stun, and then the Shadow Bolt's just not going to be there. You're just going to heal. Let's say you were healing. That's probably what was happening. Then he's charging up his Shadow Bolt crit. He gets a stun, even though there was a chance. That's the one dice roll he had to make it past. In comes the Shadow Bolt. There's a 30% chance. There's a 70% chance that Shadow Bolt fails to crit, fails to kill you. Out comes the Whipperroot Tuber. You survive long enough to get to the heal. He just used his grenade. Now he's up shit creek without a paddle. You're going to jump on this guy. You're going to maul him 6 ways from Sunday. You have Shadow Resist. Maybe that Shadow Bolt came in and it either crit, but it didn't do enough. It got like 50% resisted. Same outcome, right? So, again, from their mind, I'm watching a player either A, take the best take the best statistical probability of victory, right? Or I'm watching them fuck up and make a bad play from an RNG management perspective, right? For my perspective, facing Warlocks, a 30%, that's not 30%. So in their mind, they're taking a 30%, but really it's like 20% and then 30%, and then pray to God it didn't get resisted by Shadow Resist. So it's not a 30% a chance to win. It's more like I'll be generous. I'll say it's like a 15% chance to straight up win that duel. That's not bad, considering the overall win rate that I have against Warlocks is upwards of 80%. Just seeing them just roll the dice on a 15% chance to just straight up win the duel is probably pretty good for them, because them rolling that chance on a 15% and then maybe having like another 10% chance that RNG goes their way and they win the duel, even if that failed, is pretty good. They're probably increasing their win rate statistically off the entirety of that, but when I see it, I just think to myself, was there not a better move? Was there not a better move than to risk losing the duel for a 15% chance to win? It's like your win rate was 80%. You took a 15% chance, but if that 15% chance fails, you've only got like a 5% chance to left. So maybe it's like a neutral play. Like, it didn't increase his chances, it didn't decrease his chances. It's just speeding everything up. RNG management. Yeah. This is also another reason why I'm a fan of having, again, you can look at my supplementary video and you can see where it's like, just enough hit points to where you're unkillable, but they think that you are, and all the tactical advantages that gives you. And then why I put all this emphasis on like having a little bit more hit points, maybe hitting my target 3 times and getting back like, another 120 hit points from like Judgment of Light. You're like, oh, why don't you do damage on them? It's because I'm alive when I should be dead. When I get my gear and you start seeing me duel, you're going to see time and time again, I'm alive when I should be dead. My opponents have tried to kill me. It's failed. They think I'm getting lucky, but it keeps happening again and again and again and again. And what's the reason why is because I'm taking all these dice and I'm forcing them to jump through all these hoops. And statistically, I live. Like 80% of the time I live, but they think it's like, oh, you got lucky on like a 30% chance to survive there. No, I got lucky on an 80% chance to survive there. You just don't know it because you can't do math. Eventually, they if you duel the really good ones enough, they eventually kind of learn that and they start to adapt a little bit, but it's rough for them. I'll tell you that much, that's for sure. But okay, so that's RNG management from its most basic level. That's RNG management in your gear. That's RNG management in your HP. In what instant cast abilities you can have, like your Holy Shock heal or your Whiproot Tuber or your health potion. RNG management becomes much more nuanced when you're talking about plays, like when to use your grenade, what trinkets to use, like all that kind of stuff. But to be perfectly honest, you should just be keeping it dirt simple. At least that's how I like to do it. I like to keep the plays dirt simple, and then to have all the RNG shit kind of happening behind the scenes with the gear. So, for example, I'm not a fan of trying to get off a Burlov's trinket to counteract chain lightning blowing me the fuck up. I would rather just have a little bit more nature resist and have RNG favor me in that particular exchange. And then I'm alive when I should be dead, and so forth and so on. So maybe rather than a Burlov's trinket, use like some kind of healing trinket, or you just straight up, Burlov's might not be too bad. Or, yeah, you just use like some nature resist trinket or like a bop trinket or something like that. And you just play alive when you should be dead. Alive when should be dead. And then heal to full. And then let's fucking go. You lose. The end. Yeah, so I'll probably be talking more and more about RNG management as time goes on. But I guess I'll just leave it there as a general concept. And just be aware that every action you take is in service to your overall win rate, right? So if you're taking an action that fails to generate a good win rate, what the fuck are you doing? So if we go back to Peace Blade here, I'll speed it up. Right, yeah, what did I do? Wait a second here. Yeah, go back. Pause. No. Pause. Okay. So, Peace Blade, he's got plenty of hit points for what he's doing right now. He's perfectly fine. He's got Holy Shock, right? So he can heal himself. And he decides that he wants to use Dark Root on cooldown, which is what you can see right here. Boom. What the fuck are you doing? Like, from an RNG management perspective, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you using up one of your precious RNG management tools to hurt yourself, to make it easier for your opponent to kill you under these conditions? Like, even if the hunter, let me think. This would be an acceptable play if the hunter didn't have Scattershot, if you knew he didn't have Goblin Mortar, if you knew he didn't have Grenade. You do this under those conditions with Holy Shock, I am 100% happy. You do this without Holy Shock under those exact same conditions, I am unhappy. Why? Because you can do mathematical calculation on what are the odds that the hunter kills you. Like, what are the odds that this next shot out of the hunter, does the hunter have some mana? Yep. What are the odds that this shot out of the hunter crits you? What are the odds that the follow-up arcane shot also crits you? What are the odds that the shot, the melee shot even behind that, so it's melee, range shot, arcane shot, range shot. If 2 of those crit, what are the odds that you survive? And the answer is, you might survive with the barest minimum of hit points, or you might just fucking die. Right? So you've decided to put yourself in an RNG situation where you could possibly be killed. Now, if it's like a 2%, if it's like a 5% chance that you die here, let's say there's a 5% chance that Peaceblade died even if the hunter didn't have Scattershot here. That might be an acceptable line of play, right? Because taking a 5% is fine, taking a 10% is fine, taking a 15% is fine. But if this is like your third 5% chance to die, or your third 10% chance to die, what the fuck are you doing? From just a pure RNG management perspective, it's like you've already lowered, all other factors aside. If this is your third 10% chance to die, just because the hunter gets lucky with crits all out of nowhere, you're at a 70% win rate. All other factors aside, like even if the hunter just it's your third, the hunter's taken his third chance to kill you, right? Fails, and he just decides to concede the duel. He's like, I'm just going to kill myself, and he just dies, right? The hunter would still have a 30% win rate at that point. You'd still have you would have a 70% win rate because you've taken too many damn risks. And again, he's risking losing the duel here for mana. He's not risking losing the duel, but if the dice roll succeeds, he wins, right? That's not the scenario here. It's a risk to lose for some fucking mana. That is the definition of bad RNG management. So just be mindful of your actions, especially after you got killed, right? Of your RNG management, and try to trace back when you died. It's pretty painfully obvious as a Paladin when you made a fuck up play from an RNG management perspective, because you're like, oh shit, I should have healed here. I should have ran away here rather than doing what I did. So as you can see here, he's chasing him with bubble. Like, he's going to throw a grenade in a second, and this grenade whiffs. Okay, whiff. All right, so grenade throw, good. Like it. Good RNG management. Do not like he continues to close. He doesn't go for the heal. So it should be running away, cleanse, heal. Like, that should have been his play. This hunter is gone. This hunter is gone because this hunter still has Scattershot. There's nothing you can do about it. Even if you decided to run the fuck away, like let's say you decided to run the hell away and heal, the hunter still has 2 options. He can keep running. He can eat and drink and bandage, right? You can eat and drink and bandage to full. He doesn't have a pet. He's not going anywhere. The edge of the dueling circle is somewhere around here. That's why Peaceblade's being so aggressive, I think. And what was I about to say? Or the hunter can literally turn around, chase you a bit, scattershot you, run up to you, trap you, and eat and drink, right? So it's kind of like there's no scenario here where the hunter does not get to full life and mana. Yet we're pressing, and then so the pressing play makes no sense. just period. When you think about RNG perspective here in general, and then it's just doubled down on with bad RNG management with the Dark Rune, and it's only because Free Wind completely and totally fucks up that Peace Blade is alive. Like, you should stop. Okay, fine. Finish your bandage. Do it right now. Shoot him. Don't keep running. Stop. Shoot. Stop. Oh, yeah, too late. But you can see how close it is. You can see, and this is bad RNG management on Free Wind's point. And the reason why I'm saying it's bad RNG management on Free Wind's point is because he has the Paladin dead to rights. If you recognize what's going on, if you recognize all the tools at the Paladin's disposal, what the Paladin has, what the Paladin doesn't have, the Paladin is fucking dead. Yet he's finishing his bandaging, he's getting more distance, he's taking the risk, like he's cutting it really close. Like this is how I beat a lot of really good players, and it makes me laugh my ass off every time, is they try to do this MLG shit. Like, Major League Gaming, look how elite gamer I am. Fucking shoot him! Go back! Shoot him! You have him! Just don't bandage. What are you doing? Just kill him. Just fucking kill him. So you can see he tries to get it off perfectly. He's like, I'm going to run the exact distance away. I'm going to time my shot perfectly. I'm so fucking badass at this game. Look how amazing I am. This shot's coming in. It's going to fucking kill him. But yeah, and he's off by milliseconds. Right? Like, he's off by milliseconds when he should have just killed him. Boom. That should be a dead Paladin. And RNG-wise, this is a 100% dead Paladin that Free Wind fucked up his RNG management because I guess he was retarded. Right? Like, there's no other way to say that. So, RNG management goes both ways. You can see good RNG management on your side. You can see bad RNG management on the opponent's side. And manipulating your opponent into doing bad RNG management is a win condition for the Paladin. Right? Like, especially with your gearing options. And I'll be covering a lot more of that in my guides when I start making guides, when I start doing dueling videos. One thing I definitely want to see is I really want to see Drakova critique my dueling guide video. He did point out some errors that I made, like, yo, you should be drinking here, you shouldn't be chasing, you're chasing too much, you should be more defensive in this scenario, you have all the advantages, blah, 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 blah. And he is correct. There were a few mistakes I made in my oh, look, I found a rogue, let me try to duel it with rank 14 rogue. He is 100% correct. It would have also been nice if I found my freaking mana, proper mana. But this video has been long as fuck, so I'm just going to leave it there. Yeah, RNG management, RNG management, RNG management. It's not even about correct lines of play, right? So, correct lines of play are... I suppose technically a correct line of play does give you the highest win percentage chance. Like, by definition, a correct line of play is RNG management in its very nature. But within the correct line of play, there is also RNG management, right? So you've taken the correct line of play, right? You're doing the right things, you're wearing the right gear, but then you're also... even within the context of doing everything correctly, you're still subservient and watching like a hawk. How is RNG playing out? Is it good? Is it bad? What do I need to do? What do I not need to do? Kind of a thing. A disturbingly good example of this. Let me pause the video really fast and see if I can find it. All right, we're back. Okay, so I found it. So a really good example of RNG of correct line of play execution, but then RNG management comes into play is when I'm dueling this rank 14 rogue in my basically shitty gear. I don't even have 5-piece T2 in this, even though I really should. This is kind of terrifying. But basically what's happened if you watch my Verse Rogue video, which is still 100% applicable and viable, this is the rogue's last blind. Okay, he has no more blinds behind this, and subsequently he has no more easy resets past this point. Yeah. So in this scenario, my guide dictates that I immediately reach for my PvP trinket, which is exactly what I'm about to do. You can see my cursor. I get sapped, yes. And then I'm immediately going, okay, well, now it's time for the PvP trinket. Now, I'm taking note of the situation. Note of the situation is I'm still above 50% life. I've already concluded that this rogue cannot do more than 50% life in a single opener. With my PvP trinket here, I'm feeling super comfortable in this duel under these conditions. Like, I'm just chilling like a fucking villain right now, right? And I'm just like, okay, this is cool. I could probably, in my mind at this point, I'm thinking I could probably sit this rogue's entire opener and not have to use my PvP trinket. That is literally my thought process based upon this duel so far. However, I'm still reaching for the PvP trinket because I've conditioned myself that this is the correct line of play. Now, I can't really remember why this is the correct line of play at the moment. Like not as I'm talking to you, but in this duel, right? I'm thinking to myself, why am I doing this? I could easily sit this opening based upon the amount of damage that I'm taking. And the answer is RNG management. And as you can see, it's actually going to save my life here, even though I'm thinking to myself, oh, based upon the amount of damage I've been taking from this rogue so far, I could probably just sit this, save my PvP trinket for later, which I'd probably use on like a gouge. Like the rogue goes for the gouge reset, I PvP trinket, and that's a win condition. Instead, I'll sit on like the Whipper tuber. Instead, what I'm literally doing is I'm hovering mentally, right? Like in theory, you'd have key bindings and you wouldn't be a clicker like me. But I'm hovering mentally over my PvP trinket from an RNG perspective, right? I'm not hovering over the Whipper tuber from a mental perspective because it'll be painfully obvious in his opener which one of these two things I need, right? If his opener comes out and I don't get obliterated on the hit point front, then I might be safe to sit it until the Whipper tuber and into the stun, into the heal. You can see my stun down here is almost off cooldown. You can see this duel in full and a different thing. So, but I'm sitting on the PvP trinket just in case things go to shit. Just in case things go to shit, the play is PvP trinket, maybe Whipper tuber, if stun is still not off cooldown, and then stun when stun is off cooldown. So that is my RNG management play. I'm taking no fucking risks because I just want to showcase without having to duel and like selectively pick, because I'm never going to do that. You're never going to see me selectively pick duels ever. That is not going to happen. When I lose, you're going to fucking see it. When I win, you're going to see it, because you need to see the nature of RNG in these matchups. It does no good to cherry pick the duels. You will not learn. Okay? So from purely an RNG management perspective, my game plan, PvP trinket, Whipper tuber, stun. That order, if need be. Otherwise, PvP trinket, stun, if need be. Otherwise, just Whipper tuber into stun, or maybe I don't even need a Whipper tuber, it's just stun, right? Like, I'm trying to save as many things as possible, but I'm also trying to be as RNG conscious as possible. Watch what happens, though, and this is perfect. I'm really glad this happened. This rogue nukes the fuck out of me. Boom, he just crits the shit out of me like a motherfucker. I don't even stay to look at this, right? I'm just, blah, PvP trinket. I PvP trinket that 6-second stun or whatever the fuck he had on me. I recognize my life is in deep shit. I immediately start clicking my stun. If this stun didn't go off, like if it got resisted, or if it was on cooldown, because I'm not even looking at the stun, right? I'm in panic mode at this point. I'm like, oh, fuck, stun, oh, fuck, what do I got? It would be Whipper tuber, kite back, until Whipper tuber, kiting back, until my stun was off cooldown, basically. But I was chilling because I knew my stun was theoretically off cooldown. I think I still technically have got, like, I got bubble, I got bop, like, I got a million tools left here. But, again, we're talking pure RNG management, both for now and for the future. Blam, out comes the stun. But look how low life I get. Like, everything out of this rogue crits me. Like if you go back to that, like, you see crit, crit, crit. Like, everything crit. That's not even, am I wrong about that? Like, maybe I just took 96 damage? I feel like just everything out that rogue just crit my ass, right? And this is just, this is a brilliant display, if I do say so myself, of just pure RNG management. I was ready for this shit, even if shit went south like a motherfucker. And because of it, what happens? Blam. Heal to heal to heal to heal to back to full life. I literally gave no shits. What did that cost me? That cost me a PvP trinket. And my stun's on cooldown. I still got Bubble, I still got Bop, I still have my emergency Whipperoo Tuber, I still have Lay on Hands, but I don't like losing Lay on Hands in a duel. This rogue, by the way, you don't know in this video, he has actually got, not only is he in rank 14 gear, he's also in fucking, he's got Priest Stam buff, and he's got like a Mark of the Wild on, so this, I end up winning this duel, but I had to use Lay on Hands, and I'm not too happy about that. But he had the buffs, so it's like whatever. But again, you can see the raw display of RNG management here. I was 100% prepared and 100% safe from shit just completely going wrong. Blam, crit, 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 crit. I don't give a fuck. Later, bitch. Let's say, I think I already said it, but let's say you resist that stun. I got Bubbles, I got Whipperroot Tubers. He still has a shit ton of energy. That's kind of scary, though. So he did all that even with a shit ton of energy. I still have Edward the Odd. So I might have Whipperroot Tubered Edward the Odded into him. Like, if the stun got resisted, maybe go for an Edward the Odd proc. Or maybe I just freaking bubble and I say, screw it. Fine, whatever. You got my bubble. RNG gods. Whatever. But, yeah. So, yeah, the good RNG management, bad RNG management. I will definitely talk about that more later when I start doing the dueling stuff. But for now, this video is long as fuck. And I think I'm just going to leave it there. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope my ramblings make some semblance of sense. Yes, indeed.